Thank you, Glenda. Thank you all for being here, and welcome. So we're going to talk today about email, and primarily how to use email marketing to close more sales, to grow your business. Today's game plan. We're going to talk for a moment about why email. Why this topic? Some people like to suggest that email marketing is dead. I've been hearing that for 14 years. I started MarketVolt 15 years ago. Email marketing's not dead. The key to unlock more sales. We'll talk about that for a few moments. We'll also talk about how to save time and money as you conduct your marketing. We'll talk about the concept of what is a new sale worth to you. That really is revolving around how much are you willing to budget for your marketing campaigns. And then we'll have some Q&A. Sound good?
Perfect.
Good. All right. Why are we talking about email? It's pretty simple. Marketers continue to rate email as an essential, indispensable part of the marketing mix. It helps you increase sales. It helps you generate new leads. It helps you engage prospects. It helps you grow your business. And the best marketers, the best businesses that are conducting the best marketing, consider it indispensable for their program. And why is that? Because we all use email. I'm dubious of this number. 95% of internet users check email daily. I bet 99% of internet users check email daily, if not 99.9%. This statistic, more than 90% of people check email compulsively. I'm not exactly sure how we define compulsively, but there's a statistic that I sometimes throw in here. I didn't write this into the slide, but the same survey that got that number said that 8% of the people surveyed said that they will check their email within 5 minutes after having relations. That's compulsive. Kind of frightening. Yeah,
Well, I quit smoking, so I.
So yeah, you quit smoking. Good. Yeah. Oh, I just took us off the rails, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
But why is all of that important? The reason it's important is because your prospects, your customers, are in their email software. And if you want to reach them, if you want to get in front of them, if you want to communicate with them, interact with them, sell to them, then you need to have a program of email marketing so that you can reach them, because that's where they are. And I hear from so many businesses that say, I don't have the time. If you don't have the time, hire somebody who does have the time. If you don't have a list, start with a small list and work on building the big list. There is no good reason not to conduct email marketing, because it really is indispensable if you conduct it properly. Okay, final point about this. We are all about interactive marketing across a broad spectrum: social media, offline marketing techniques such as print or teleprospecting. But it's not a concept of one versus the other. But you do have to recognize that email versus, for example, social media will prompt sales at rates 40 times greater. Social media is great for things like engagement, for attracting leads, for spreading your business, for getting in front of other people. But when it comes to asking for the sale, email is indispensable and just works better than other tactics. So enough about that. What is the key to unlock more sales, especially when we're talking about email? What is the key? Well, the key is targeted follow-up. Targeted follow-up. Okay, what do I mean by targeted follow-up? I'm going to share with you a targeted campaign. It's a little bit difficult to read. If you're already on my mailing list, you would have received this email, and the email said something to the effect of, what is the key to increasing conversions and sales? Click here. And if they clicked, they went to a page on our website that simply said, the key is targeted follow-up. And because you clicked this link, check your email box. Within an hour, you're going to get a follow-up email. So in a way, it was sort of opening the curtain, showing the man behind the curtain, revealing what we do. When you're doing targeted follow-ups and campaigns, you're not saying, okay, you click the link, so in an hour you're going to get an email from me. I'm doing that because I'm teaching the marketing as I go. But we sent that email, made it short and sweet, had calls to action in the email. That's so important. Calls to action in the email. Click this thing because you'll get some benefit. You'll learn something. We'll reveal the key to some secret. And then what happened is within an hour, they got a follow-up email. And that follow-up email invited them all to a series of webinars where we taught various techniques around targeted follow-up and around email marketing. Our response rate, our registration rate for those webinars was significantly higher than we saw when we simply, in the first email, said, hey, by the way, we're having some webinars, come on in. Now, there's a good question that people will ask, well, why don't you just send that second email to everybody on your list? Why not, you have 4,000 or 5,000 people on your email list or 40 or 50 people on your email list. Why not send that second email to everybody on the list? Well, the biggest reason, the biggest mistake that businesses make with their email marketing is sending everything to everybody every time, regardless of whether they're interested. Okay, that's when people tune out, stop opening your emails, opt out, press the spam complaint button, even if they signed up willingly. Okay, so targeted follow-up is conceptually saying, learn who is interested by tracking things such as who's opened the email, who's clicked the links in the email, and take those people who are interested and take them one step further in the conversation. You were interested to learn about this, I'm going to invite you to a webinar. Now, here's a very, very important question. How do you close the sale? Okay. In our case, an invitation to a webinar, we close that sale, if you want to call a registration a sale, we close that sale with email. That's easy. People are happy to receive an email that leads them to register for a webinar. Brian, do you ever send an email where somebody calls you up and says, okay, I want to hire you. Send me a contract, I want to hire you.
I send a picture.
You send a drawing. A consulting business, a high ticket, a consulting business, a high ticket business, commercial real estate, and so many businesses. You don't close sales necessarily with a social media post or an email. You have to remember how you close sales, and remember that digital media do not reinvent the way that we close business. Digital media help us get to sales more quickly and help us focus on who is prospect versus who is not, prospect versus suspect. So if you close businesses with a handshake and an in-person meeting, think about your email strategy and targeted follow-up, not necessarily as, I'm going to track who clicked, I'm going to send a follow-up email, and then I'm going to wait for the phone to ring so I can have more sales. Think about it as, I'm going to track who clicked, I'm going to identify those people as prospects, and I'm going to invite them to a meeting, perhaps by picking up the phone to invite them to a meeting, perhaps by sending them an email to invite them to a meeting. But I'm not going to try to reinvent the way I close sales, because you won't reinvent the way you close sales. But email is going to be essential in helping you get to the sale much more quickly. Now, automating. How do we automate sales? Okay. I'm going to share with you an example just yesterday. This was really opportune that this happened. I had a conversation with a client who described this situation. They have a consulting business where they send an email to people where they introduce this coaching program that they offer, and it's a fairly high-ticket coaching program. And the person who runs the program was explaining how what they do is they'll send an email and they'll introduce a little snippet. They'll introduce some tips or a a material, a one-pager that they include as part of the coaching program. And then they'll track who clicked the link in the email. And then what she'll do is she'll go into the email software, she'll take that list of the people who clicked the link, and she'll email that off to her sales reps, the coaches who are selling the coaching program. And then those people will conduct some sort of follow-up, usually by sending an email, inviting those people to have a phone call with them. Targeted follow-up, not a bad thing. Okay. But what she said is, usually takes me a few days to get around to doing that. I sometimes forget, sometimes it's a week. Then I have to send the email with the list to the sales reps. Then they have to act on it. And sometimes by the time they're following up on the email, we're sending out next month's email. And sometimes this stuff just gets completely slipped through the cracks. It's not a ton of time and effort that they invest into this process, but it is still a manual process. So what we set up, what we discussed yesterday, is what if you could set it up so that when that link is clicked, a spreadsheet is automatically created with all the people who have clicked the link. That spreadsheet is automatically emailed to the account reps or automatically ported into the customer relationship management software. And, oh, by the way, that individual email, the one-to-one email, not a mass email from the email system, but a one-to-one email from Gmail or Outlook 365 or whatever it may be, is being sent from the sales rep to the people. In other words, that entire process I just described is automated. And she said if I was in the same room with you, I would hug you. And why? Because we've saved time, we've saved money, we've eliminated headache and hassle, and because we've done those three things, they're doing something that they otherwise aren't doing as well as they could, or in the case of many businesses, just don't bother to do because it takes too long and it's too much of a headache and hassle. So automating, figuring out how does your technology help you save time and money and eliminate headache and hassle is essential. And so you need to choose email marketing software that allows you to do that automates segmentation. If somebody clicks, automatically put them into a particular group, and automates follow-up. When that happens, automatically do something else. Put them in a spreadsheet, put them into your CRM, put another email out. And if you can't do that, then you need to think through ways to do that. Okay, finally, and this is really important, how much will you spend to acquire a new customer? How many of you can answer the question, how much is a customer worth to you over the lifetime of the relationship? It's a hard question to answer, and most businesses have a very hard time answering it. Think about your customer lifetime value. There are a lot of different terms for this, but CLV, customer lifetime value, is a good and simple one. And a very, very, very simple formula for customer lifetime value is what is the average net revenue, the average gross revenue less the cost of goods and services for a customer coming into your business. And then what is the average number of years that a customer sticks with you? Some customers come back and do business with you over and over again. Some customers leave. There's an average. So an accounting firm might have an average customer relationship of $1,000 per year, but that accounting firm might do business on average with a customer 12, 15 years over. So in that case, if the average net revenue is $1,000 over 12 years, the customer lifetime value is $12,000. Now you begin to ask the question, how much am I willing to spend to acquire something that will be worth $12,000 to me? It's a much different question than how much am I willing to spend to acquire, I'm not sure, or to acquire $1,000. Yeah, I'll make $1,000 this year if I land that customer. Well, some businesses will spend more on average per new customer than that customer will make them in the first year, because they understand that over the lifetime, they're going to make far more for that investment. That's important because it goes back to our initial thing. If you don't have time, maybe you should hire somebody who does have the time. Well, I don't, no, not necessarily. There are all sorts of people in the room, right? Lost my train of thought, sorry. It helps you understand broadly how much you should invest in order to do the sorts of things that we're doing. If you can't think of customer lifetime value, you can't ultimately understand the big picture. So recap, why email? Fundamentally, it's about excellent return on investment. Key to sales, targeted follow-up, save time and money with automation. Value of a new sale is relative to customer lifetime value. Now we'll spend a few minutes on question and answer. Les.
Tom, I am concerned, and I've heard others express the same concern, that when you're sending emails these days, people are so fearful about clicking on links and opening attachments. How do you address that to get more pull-through?
Well, you establish trust. So the more that you provide value in what you're delivering, honest value, having a mindset of tips and helpful information and helpful content before you just go pitchy. And what will happen is you'll establish trust, you'll establish rapport, and then when we do an email like the one that I showed, the list knows who we are. The list trusts us. They know that if they're clicking a link, they're going to get the promise. We're going to tell you something you didn't know. You're going to learn. We're not going to bombard you with a bunch of garbage that you don't want. That's part of the concept of the targeted follow-up, that the people who click and then get a follow-up the next hour or the next day or the next week aren't feeling like, another email from Tom. They're feeling like, oh, okay, cool. He's continuing this conversation that I'm interested in. So value, and there are people who are skeptical and there are people who are nervous about links, but if you establish that trust, you're still going to see great return. It looks like you have a follow-up microphone.
What if you start with a cold lead list?
Well, that's a different game and a different presentation. So cold lead lists and reaching out to people cold, you are going to expect a much lower response rate. Most email service providers like MarketVolt or others aren't going to allow you to take a cold list, just upload it and start to pound that list. You should think about it as a one-time touch. I'm going to touch this list. That's if you're doing it through teleprospecting or through direct mail or through a cold email. I'm introducing myself to you. I'm offering you a reason to respond to whatever I'm offering, and I hope you will respond. And you might do that once, you might do that twice. You're going to have a far lower response rate. And in many cases, doing cold call email, purchasing a list, using a provider that would send to a purchase list is not as effective as teleprospecting, direct mail, Facebook advertising, things like that. Okay.
I just wanted to ask,
Yes,
what
Judy.
is a minimal kind of a reasonable budget for a person if they said, I want to really do this in 2017 and I want to put a monthly budget toward it? What would be kind of a range or minimum?
You know, email marketing software starts in some cases for free. It doesn't necessarily have the functionality that I was talking about. Our software starts at $15 a month if your mailing list is under 250 people. $30 a month if you have a larger list. And then if you're doing it all yourself, you've got that cost for software plus the cost of your time and your effort. So it's going to vary depending on the campaign.
Would it be if you built out a whole strategy and implementation for a client, like that kind of a price tag? Would it be sort of like $1,000 a month or, like just sort of a general idea?
So for our business, where we do it for you campaigns, we'll plan strategy, we'll execute the campaign. The client I referenced earlier is somebody we're doing that for. There's a retainer up front of, in this case, $500 for kind of initial planning and consulting, and then the ongoing campaign, I think in this case, is going to be $200 a month. Yep. Other questions? I thank you very much for spending time with me.